Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marsh Bingo. It's so great to see you all tonight. Upcoming at the Marsh tomorrow night in Berkeley, we've got Adam Strauss is Not Unhappy, and in San Francisco, we've got Dawn Reed's Going Out. We hope to see you at one of those shows if you haven't been to them yet. And I'm so excited to introduce Mr. Josh Kornbluth.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's great to be here. Oh my God, I just got highlighted from myself. I need to undo that, put myself in the gallery. Okay, cool, excellent. That's much better. Hi, everyone. Great to see you. All of you, including the inanimate one as well, who just stares at me from under a helmet. It's great to see all of you. It is July 8th. I'm pretty sure it's July 8th. I think it's July 8th, 2022. And maybe it was yesterday that Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh apparently was subjected to an indignity that while he was eating a steak at Morton's Steakhouse, there were protesters outside and who were protesting that he was deeply involved in taking away women's control of their own bodies and some other horrible things that he was deeply involved in. And so there's a lot of pearl clutching today by the conservative media that this is horrible, that there were protesters who were outside of Morton's while Brett Kavanaugh was eating steak inside of Morton's. And I just want to say, I hope he recovers. I think I know it can be traumatic to have your privacy invaded like that. And as someone wrote on Twitter, I mean, the question on everyone's lips is, couldn't he, if he found himself hungry, wasn't that his own fault? And couldn't he be gone to another state to eat a steak that would allow him to eat without protest? And these are all excellent questions, and those and more will be addressed after we sing our opening theme song. Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo. And it's time to begin playing game number 1 of Marsh Bingo. I hope you're ready. You're all prepared for the excitement. Suitably medicated yourselves if necessary, so that it doesn't become too overwhelming, because the excitement of Marsh Bingo has actually caused some people to burst into flames. And that's why you all have to sign that legal form right before you participate. Removes all liability from me and the Marsh. So having said all that, having prepared yourself, let us begin with game number 1. The very first bingo ball on this day is the ball that we call, I can say no more than just to say it's B1. B1. It is the very first ball. We are beginning on the first ball. Second ball, I-17. I-17. So if you have B1 or I-17 on your bingo card, then mark it down, because it could come in handy should you get 5 in a row and bingulate. I-20. 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 Okay, so the thing is, in a sense, we all live within parameters, you know. Well, speaking for myself, I live within parameters. The parameters of my mortality are the ones that occur to me first, but there are a whole bunch of parameters. And the parameters of this bingo game are 1 in 75. Those are the extremes. And we began with 1, and now we get 75. Oh, 75. So in a sense, all of the bingo universe will be enclosed within what we have already experienced. And I think that should take a lot of the chill away from people who might be a little bit nervous about the future of this game. G59, 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 G59. Followed by G56, G56. I know what you're all wondering is, geez, Josh, you've already called out 6 bingos and you haven't talked about yourself yet at length. And what's wrong? And it's really a mellower me. It's a less self-focused me who stands before you in my living room tonight. I've been mellowed by my continued experience of birding, and it's changing me profoundly. N42. N42. So, a lot of people have been writing to me during the week asking about the birds that Sarah and I have been tracking. Nobody wrote to me to ask about that, as a matter of fact. But in another universe, someone did write to me to ask about that. And to answer those people and you, we're now following 3 families, 3 families of birds in 3 different, not sure if they're species, or is bird a species, or is it a genus? I don't know. There are 3 different kinds of birds, and they each have their own place. So the pond birds that we're following are the stilts, and then the birds that are in the trees and flying around a little bit are the black wing. What? Yeah, not black winged, but some might have called it previously, but the white-tailed kites. White-tailed kites are a family, and then on the base of and climbing up onto these 2 radio towers, there's a family, a decimated family of ospreys, which is down to 1 osprey, and some of the families are doing better than others. It made me think about how in nature, everyone's got to eat. So having said that, should I really be so upset and angry and about and fearful of a snowy egret just because it seems to be stalking the babies of the stilt family that we've been following? I mean, the snowy egret needs to eat, although the snowy egret is eating. He's like eating, like there's lots of fish in the water there he's eating, but there's something, he wants a little something a little different. And I know what that's like. Sometimes when I eat at Morton's Steakhouse, oftentimes I'll want to eat whatever it is that the white supremacist who was credibly accused of rape, what he's having. But then frequently I'll want to have something different, you know? And so I relate to that. And it's not like I'm not othering this bird. G51, G51, G51. But the deal is this, there are these 2 stilts, it's stilt parents, and they had stilt children. If it had gone in a different direction, I think we all would have been pretty shocked. But in fact, they had children that were the same kind of bird as they are. And they're on a little island in this pond sort of thing that's by the pedestrian bridge at the bottom of University Avenue. Well, sort of at the bottom by the train. Anyhow, and there's a little island because the water sort of goes down, and there's a little island that comes up out of the water, and it's shallow water. So we've been watching for a year or more, been watching a lot of egrets and stuff, and the water is shallow enough that they can walk. They have long legs. They're very skinny, They're kind of self-conscious about that, but they're more self-conscious about the fact that their feet and their beaks are my goddess. The sounds coming out of my speaker that I don't understand. That tells me I need to call another number. I-27.
The video is not on, you're just only watching.
Well, I don't want people to see me. That's
Okay.
crazy.
So it's fine then, right?
So here's the thing. People can't totally see you, but we can hear you currently. Woman with voice. I-30. Anyhow, they had we think 4 babies. The stilts had 4 babies. And the babies are little bundles of things. They didn't even have little long legs yet. They're just little baby stilts, and there's a little island, and the parents would sort of hang out on the island and kind of watch over things. And every once in a while, and they're still doing that, even though now the babies are getting little legs themselves and they're starting to venture out. But every once in a while, a possible predator will come around in the pond area, like the snowy egret today. And it's just sort of eating, it's walking, it's walking in a way, the kind of swagger that you see a lot in snowy egrets. And it was getting towards where the babies are. And so what I believe it was the dad, could have been the mom, but I think the dad, one of the parents started buzzing the egret, like right into, like, it's much smaller. The egret's much larger. And this little bird does like that. And it was like, what? And then like that. But it was cool because I feel like I understood exactly what was happening. And that happens maybe a few times in a year for me. G46. And the egret seemed somewhat bothered by it, but also seemed like he thought it would not be cool if he just sort of squawked and ran away or flew away. So he kind of just kept doing it. He kept just sort of, no, I'm just here. I'm not here to eat your babies. I'm just eating these fish that happen to be near your babies. And then it was a tense situation. And the parent birds were calling to each other. One of them went over to guard another place, and they were calling with their stilt calls. And the babies are just going around eating things, oblivious or not. And 32. The thing is, it's pretty damn nerve-wracking, because we feel ourselves to be close with this family of stilts. We've known the parents before they even had these babies. We knew when they had 4 babies, and we're pretty sure that one got eaten or something. And they have 3 now, and they're vulnerable, and we care about them. And then, the ego, and what can you do? As birders, I don't believe we're supposed to jump in and physically remove a snowy egret from the area of stilts. I haven't read all the rules, but it's a sort of helpless feeling, And in 40, and it made me think that, not for the first time, that, human beings do brutal things to one another all the time. And that's pretty consistent with nature as well. And it makes me really, really grateful for any little bits of cohabitative, cooperative love rather than its opposite, which includes eating the other. Although, if someone were to come in and eat Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, because it is a steakhouse, and someone may have come in for human, who am I to condemn? I'm no jurist. 69. But the important thing is for the people who oppress everyone else to be comfortable. And I understand that. 63. Oh, 63. There is, I saw a bench once when my son and I were bicycling around the marina years ago. It was a quote that said, I'm probably getting it wrong, but this is how I remember it. It was, there was no, it was on the back of a bench. It said, there is no comfort in nature. I could have that wrong. That's my memory of it. There's no comfort in nature. So, you know, these birds have to be on their guard. You know, it's just, it's not, life as a stilt is not a bowl of cherries. For example, those are two very different kinds of things. One is stilts and one is cherries. But that's not exactly everything I meant. So that was the stilts. And eventually the snowy sort of kind of said, okay, I was going to go this other way anyhow, after he had been buzzed about 11 times by the parent of the stilts. B7, B7, B7. But as we went off on our bicycles, it did occur to me that we're not always there to witness them or the rest of nature. I'm not sure that's profound or anything, but it sort of freaks me out. I just forgot which way to turn this. Let me try this way. Okay, cool. I-18, 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 I-18. So then on to the kite family. I didn't even know that there were things that were not actually kites that you fly that are called kites, that are birds that are kites. I did not know that maybe a year ago. If someone had yelled kite at me, trying to alert me to a kite, I might have felt that it was somewhat antiquated anti-Semitic imprecation. But in fact, the kites are these birds, and very conveniently for a beginning birder like me, kites look very similar in many ways to seagulls, which are not called seagulls, they're gulls. Kites and gulls look similar in a lot of ways, and I just found out today that terns also look similar to kites and gulls. So it's good that they don't really make themselves look really different to help the beginner identify, because then I would get I would think that God loves me, and that's always a danger. G5, G50, not G5, G50, G50. So the two kites, a month ago, I may have mentioned part of the story. I didn't tell you the full story because I thought maybe there were children watching. But I was mentioning that this kite couple that just had at least 3 babies who are now growing up and beginning to fledge, that we saw them away from the nest, away from the babies, copulating. The same parent, I mean, while the babies are still babies, you know, which, what's your rush? But I mean, they know what they're doing. What I didn't mention, though, is that I mentioned perhaps that it was a relatively short period of copulation. But what I didn't mention, which is really an important fact I left out, was that their copulation between these two kites was interrupted by a crow. A crow came in and went, zoomed them while they were, you know, copulating, and the crow went, shoot, you know, and that's not necessary. Is that necessary? That's not necessary. And then you think, well, darn you, crow, that's very intrusive. But then you think, well, the crow probably needs to interrupt the sex of other birds for its own happiness. And so who am I to say? There's a lot of tension between the crows and the other kinds of birds. This goes all around. There's the crows will they'll find a hawk in it and they'll just buzz it. They'll gang up on the hawk. So today, the parents were apparently off hunting, and they'd left their 3 kids. We're getting bigger and bigger, but they're still babies, baby kites, and they left them on their own to deal with whatever they would have to deal with. And the babies are calling out, mee, mee. And I may have that wrong, but it's like a question, mee, mee, and they're calling to each other. And now we can tell that they're calling to each other. It's the baby kites calling to each other. And then sure enough, a group of crows, possibly even a murder of crows, came in and started harassing the baby kites. And the parents weren't there because the parents had figured Our babies have to be able to deal with this at this point. They have to learn to deal with stuff like crows, you know, and that are harassing them. And they did. They fought off the crows. It wasn't like a fight, but they made the crows go away. The crows were testing their space. It was remarkable. It was really just again very, very, very tense. N38, 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 N38. And again, you know, we feel, I don't know, parental about the babies, but I guess what I'm trying to say is we feel parental about the babies. And, you know, we care. We care. And they're fluffy. They're still fluffy. And they get this sort of mottled coloring. They're not like all white yet, you know, which seems politically pretty cool. These juveniles. And anyhow, it was, again, nerve-wracking. Oh, 71. Oh, 71. Parents never came back. Never came back. But the babies stuck together. They stuck together. And now 2 weeks ago, none of them could fly. A week ago, one of them was brave enough to fly to the next tree and then back. Now they're fighting off crows. That's how quickly they grow up. That's how quickly. It's pretty beautiful. N31, N31, N31. Oh, earlier this week, the parents were there and the babies were there. And we were like looking at them with our, you know, binoculars and my wife's camera and stuff. And they sent us a message. The kites flew around us, like right over our heads, like just saying like, we have our kite eyes on you. I mean, it was just like, it was really something. 066, 066. 066, 066. Nearby, we saw one of the 3 green herons that we've been seeing. Between 1 and 3 herons that are also near that same place. One in particular, green heron, we're quite fond of. He doesn't like us. He is very cool towards us. Though I think you can tell that we care about the green heron, and that is hurtful. G48, G48, G48. Of course, the green heron, as I've mentioned before, being a green heron, has almost no green in it. That's why birders have called it a green heron. N45, N45. Lastly, the whatchamacallits, the ospreys. There was a whole osprey family. There were, well, babies and adults. That, to me, that's a family. It could have just been like a commune, but I'm just gonna say it was probably a family. And they're there, but there are gulls all around. You can't call them seagulls, or you get disowned by the bird community. And we think the little ospreys got et. We think they were et. The nest is still there, big nest, but they're gone. And one osprey remains. So we think, don't know what happened to the mom, but we think it's just the dad who's there. And the dad's trying to get a new family going. But again, and this is a theme, just like Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who is just trying to have a meal with his fascist family or friends or whatever, and he just has intruded upon him these protesters who are actually outside, and it turns out he never heard them or even knew that they were there until afterwards. Nonetheless, just as poor Brett Kavanaugh is sometimes harassed while he tries to eat, similarly to this one remaining osprey, gulls flying around. I mean, it's a madhouse. The osprey, in his strong defense, was not a crucial vote in taking away women's right to control their own bodies. And that's just one of the many great things about that osprey. G49, G49. But he's been catching fish, and he holds the fish in his talons, and then he eats it. So I think he's building up strength and maybe signaling to whatever woman osprey that might notice him that, you know, he's an earner. He's like, he can get a fish. He had a fish yesterday. He had a fish today. Just hanging out, holding the fish, not necessarily eating it all the time, just sort of holding, saying, I can fish. I'm good for it. I'm good for it. And then later, yesterday, we came back and we saw that he was sitting in the nest as if, like, you know, what birds do when they're in the nest and there's eggs there. What is that, brooding? I don't know what it is. Anyhow, he was right there. And I think he's showing that he's also not hyper masculine. He's not, you know, sort of a Cro-Magnon type of, you know, 070. So we're rooting for him. And we're rooting for him to get a new mate, and then for them to have eggs, and for the eggs not to be ate by all the gulls who are around there. Ooh, and we also saw the first surf scoters of the season. Surf scoters looked like they were drawn by Hanna-Barbera. They're really cool looking. They got beaks that are like platypus. They're multicolored. They're wackadoodle. They're really delightful. So surf scoters in town, and then tons of pelicans, just enormous amounts of pelicans, mostly brown pelicans and some white pelicans. N43. So anyhow, that's been how the birds are going. And I feel that if you have any questions remaining about the birding that we did in the past week, feel free to speak up in the chat, and I'll try to answer your questions. G47. Oh, I read a book and it was incredibly bleak. And I want to recommend it to all of you. It's called Stoner. I don't think I mentioned this before. It's called Stoner. I took it out as an ebook from the Berkeley Library. Stoner. It's a novel. It was written, 1940s, 50s. Maybe 60s, by a guy named John Williams, who is not the composer who does the Star Wars themes and stuff like that, and also not John A. Williams, who's also a fine writer. This guy is John Williams, and I never heard of him, and he wrote a novel called Stoner. It's not about a guy who gets stoned. He just happens to be named William Stoner. So get it, you know, it might be a deceptive title if like me, you've lived a dissolute life. And it's unbelievably bleak, and there's no humor in it, and terrible things keep happening to Bill Stoner. He's a professor at University of Missouri, and awful things happen. He's not a particularly good teacher. He enters a marriage, very hopefully, that turns out to be an absolute disaster. The marriage isn't just horrible, but also the toxic quality of his relationship to his wife really destroys their daughter, makes her an unhappy person. G60. Really bad things keep happening to him. He's a medievalist. He likes medieval stuff. And I really want to recommend it. It starts after he has already died, and the author takes pains to mention that no one really cared. Not very many people remembered Bill Stoner at this point. It's not the kind of, it's not going out of its way to make you feel great, you know, this book. And it's fantastic. It's like living a life. It's like, and it uses very simple language, Stoner. And it just breaks your heart. It's just like heartbreaking for a book, a whole book. I was saying, but something good happens to him. I'm not going to tell you what, but something good happens to him, and it's great. And it happens to him, and you're so happy for him, and you're happy for the other person who is involved in his happiness. And then that beautiful, happy relationship is absolutely ruined due to intra-academic intrigue, where basically it's ruined. And the happiness that Bill Stoner had for 2 years, he never again has in his life. And then it not only does it say in the beginning that he died, no one cared, but then it takes you through pretty literally what I think is the last moment of his life. 072. Like to the last moment, like his thoughts, what he's seeing. And I swear to you, it seems really credible that this author, John Williams, knows exactly what that's like and knew exactly what that was like when he wrote the book. Stoner. B13. 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 If you're already like feeling down, I maybe wouldn't start it at that point. I'd maybe wait for a more buoyant, but very, very good. I-16. And then to complete the bleakness of it, I read the introduction afterwards. The introduction said, this guy who wrote this, John Williams, no one remembers him. And his books didn't sell. So, it's a complete, an entire universe, literary universe of bleakness that I was brought into, and I couldn't be more grateful. I-16. N44. So the next book that I took out that was available that I had on hold, it's not cheering me up so much after Stoner. It's a book called, it seems good. It's a science fiction book. It's called the Something for the Future, Committee for the Future, the Something for the Future, the something, I'll figure it out. Anyhow, it's about the world after, in the near future, after global warming has made the Earth pretty much unlivable. And it follows that in gruesome detail through chapters 1 and 2. So I don't know. I'm sort of I'm hitting my stride in terms of just absolute bleakness, and it also seems good. N44. Oh, 74. B3. Though I was prepared for this time in my life because during an earlier part of my life, I listened to a lot of Neil Young, and it prepared me for a tremendous amount of sadness and bleakness. And I think also a very high, trebly sort of pitch.
It looks like we've got a bingo in the chat.
Bingo from, my goodness, is this our Socrates correspondent? Michelle, is that you?
Yes, it's me. It's
And
me, and I can show you.
Yes, you can.
It's
okay.
across the top.
Ah, so it's
In red.
it's a tingo.
It's a ting.
It's a
It's in
tingo
red,
is what,
too.
it's what we call it when it's across the top. It's a tingo.
Oh, a tingo.
A tingo. And what are those numbers, Michelle?
They are B3,
Yes.
I-30,
Yes.
N32,
Yes.
G48,
Yes.
and O70.
That isn't just tingo, that's bingo.
All right.
You have bingulated, and I couldn't be happier. So I know as the days are getting shorter, it becomes more and more difficult for someone like you 3 hours later than us to, be up for bingo. And I'm just very happy you've been rewarded.
Actually, I usually don't go to sleep until like 1 or 2. So.
Well, I'll just pretend I didn't hear that. And I'm just thinking it's really great that you're staying up way past the time that you usually go to bed, usually about, I'm guessing 9 or 10 p.m. So it's really, so, okay, cool. So you're not staying up late on okay. That's actually pretty cool. I'm very happy for you.
But I would for you and bingo. Yeah. If it was past my bedtime, I would.
you might have been listening, but I've had a pretty hard week in terms of observing bird families and reading bleak fiction. And what you
Yeah.
just said just really is the first thing that kind of lifted me up out of that. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. You rescued my mood there at just the last second. And you also won bingo. And in return for that, I think you're going to win a big prize, Caitlin.
Why, yes. You have won the Ruby membership as our first bingo winner of the night. So as a reminder, that's a general admission annual pass for one, including perks like invitations to special events, priority tickets, talkbacks, extra MarshStream media, unlimited access to Monday Night Marsh, members only emails, and so much more. And I've messaged you in the chat with how you can redeem your prize. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you. According to our statistics that are kept, in this whole Saugerties geographical area of New York State, you appear to have the highest concentration of Marsh memberships. That's what's showing up. So you can lord that over Lake Placid. I have no idea if that's even near you, but lord it over the many. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, you see, something good can happen to good people. Sometimes a good person goes in and orders a steak at a Morton's and is not just totally attacked by peaceful demonstrators who are outside the Morton's restaurant who cannot be seen or heard during the meal. Sometimes good things happen to good people.
Yes.
Yeah. And then sometimes not. Very frequently not. But we soldier on. Game number 2.
All right.
Wait, I just noticed that my friend Laura X is here. Laura, it's so wonderful to see Josh. I read because I miss him. Oh, I missed you too, Laura. Laura X is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. And thank you for being here, Laura. That is incredibly sweet. And now I actually realize that you're in the bottom square. You're in the bottom thing. I see you. You look very well. Are you doing well? Are you doing as well as you look? You look very well. Laura, you might be saying something about your clavicle. I'm not sure, but let me say, are you in St. Louis or are you on the West Coast? West Coast. Okay, cool. Laura, I know that you haven't yet become a regular with Marsh Bingo, but sometimes rather than allowing the participant to actually be heard and unmuting the participant, what we do is we encourage her to learn semaphore. And so that, maybe for next week, you can just get the flags and where we also accept Morse code.
I have to apologize. I was the woman with the voice.
Oh my God, that threw me off terribly.
I'm so sorry.
No, it was Laura. I almost had to take medication, but I just pulled you through. No, it's just, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. It's good for me to be traumatized now and again, especially by someone so lovely as yourself. It's great.
Gosh, I did that before once, 20 years ago at the synagogue. Some terrible thing happened. I think my cell phone rang in the middle of your fantastic Ben Franklin Unplugged, and I wanted to die on the spot. So I am so traumatized from that I'm sorry I've traumatized you again.
Well, let me tell you, Laura, I heard from the rabbi about that. The rabbi apparently had heard from the God of the Old Testament, who is the God who mostly talks to that rabbi, and that God was pissed. But it was smoothed over. And despite those 2 terrible things that you have done, Laura, all the other goodness just drowns. Drown is not a nice word. You know what I mean. It's great to see you. It's great to see you and to hear your voice.
Well, I was desperate because you didn't answer my happy birthday wishes.
Yes, I did.
You did?
I think I did.
Oh, I'm gonna go back and look. And
Okay.
so I was desperate to find out if you were okay, and that's why I read the whole website. And then I had the brilliant idea that maybe you were still at the Marsh and I could see you. And so I canceled my other event, and here you are.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful. Very grateful. I haven't updated that website in 11 years, but you are at least caught up to 11 years ago, which is really wonderful. Also, Laura, and I really must go on because the people who play, my regular community here, are used to me running a very tight ship in terms of calling my bingo numbers. And so I must continue on. But I just want to say, if you are in fact in the area, I will, for the first time in years, be performing live in Berkeley in a couple of weekends.
Where? When?
In a couple of weekends, in the backyard of one of my neighbors. And I'm going to put it out on my at joshcornwith.com. So anyhow, I'm going to be doing Citizen Brain, which I never got to do live for a live audience because we had a pandemic that we still have. And so I'm performing, I figured in the backyard is I'm going to do a backyard tour. I'm thinking of calling it Jimby or Kimby, either Josh in my backyard or Corn Bluth in my backyard. In any case, if it catches on, I'm going to do backyard tour because it seems a lot safer, you know, than doing it inside.
If you do my front deck, it has a nice view.
Absolutely. It's mostly a money-making scheme for me, Laura, as is everything that I do. But I deserve it. So anyhow, more to come. But now, to everyone, including my friend Laura and including all my other friends here, I must say, it is time to begin game number 2. Who said happy birthday to me? Laura, you said happy birthday. Game 2, okay. I don't want to oversell this backyard thing, especially some of you might be in Socrates or in Hawaii and not be able to make it. But, because it'll be in Berkeley, but it may be the case that someone will build like little shelves so that people sitting apart from each other can have little shelves and they can eat and drink wine. It's going to be classy. It's going to be really classy. And then afterwards, my plan is that we'll all do some sort of political action together. That probably goes along with wine and food. B10. B10 is how we begin this game number 2. B10. N32. 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 I-18. I-18. I-27. I-27. I had a really nice thought while I was biking in between birds this week, which was that, you know, assuming I'm alive like 15 years from now, or let's say 10 years from now, I will look back on now and go, wow, I was pretty young then. That's kind of was a cheerful thought. The time I'm going through now is enough to make my future me jealous, just like that. 070. 070. 070. I would not read the novel Stoner if you're really feeling down. I cannot overemphasize that. I-23. 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 And B1. 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 Oh, 71. We lost the great actor James Caan this week. He passed away at the age of 82. Amazing actor. Seems to have been terribly frightening in person to all who encountered him. I was reading stories on Twitter about people who some guy worked in a video store, and James Caan came to the video store, and he puts a bunch of videos on the counter. He goes, "What are these?" as if he can't like read them. That's not his thing that he does. The guy reads, okay, anyhow, scary dude. But in his later years, James Caan would tweet. And at the end of his tweet, he would always write at the end of his tweet, end of tweet. End of tweet. He'd write end of tweet. Like he'd say his thing and then he'd write end of tweet. So then people would comment, you know, you don't need to. It's like pretty obvious when your tweet ends because there's no more of it. And he wrote back something, you know, really grouchy, like, I will always end my tweets with end of tweet, end of tweet. Anyhow, his family tweeted out that he was dead yesterday. They tweeted it out and they said, we've lost our great father, brother, actor, James Caan. We'll miss him terribly. End of tweet. So I thought that was really sweet. 63. 63. 63. I-28. 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 No, we did? I did not know that. I've been informed by a woman I'm married to, so I can't get more specific, that we lost the actor who played Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos, and I did not know this before this moment, and it's shocking to me. What was his name? Yeah, you know what I talk about? If you've seen The Sopranos, he had like well, if you haven't seen The Sopranos, it's a lighthearted family show, and you really should catch it. I-26, group of opera singers. What?
He looks like a merganser.
He looks like a merganser bird, if that helps you. He had like these wings that his hair, and he played a mafia guy. He played, you know, pretty violent mafia guy who's incredibly funny, just incredibly delivered these really funny, not funny to certain people, but funny to the viewer. I-26, and that's really sad. Anyhow, I read at one point that this actor himself, in fact, had been in the mafia. He was one of the actors. He was the only actor among all these actors who were playing mafia people who had been in the mafia. And I-26, and that's I guess retrospectively, that's method acting. He was fantastic. Oh, that's really sad. That was sad. G53, G53, G53. Oh, Paulie Walnut. No. N31, 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 N31. I-17, I-17. I once, years ago, my brother and I we were taken on by a management agency, and they're big in Hollywood, and their big client, it was called Writers and Artists, or is called, and their biggest client was James Gandolfini, the now late great actor who was at the time playing Tony Soprano on The Sopranos. Amazing actor. And I was sitting around with all of the people who worked there, and I hadn't yet learned that you're not supposed to even say the name of really famous clients when you're at an agency. You're just not supposed to say the name even. So I said, wow, James Gandolfini. And I was like, ah! Like that. So I was like, just sort of drop the subject. G47. It's in this, he's really great in maybe his last movie that was in called In the Loop. That is a parody of a comedy about British and American politics. He's really great. He's really great in The Loop. Doesn't kill anyone in that one. B8. B13. Still, at least the actor who played Paulie Walnuts did not have to go through the indignity of being picketed outside of Morton's Steakhouse while he ate inside Morton's Steakhouse, having taken away the right to privacy of more than half of the population of the United States. Oh, 69. Oh, 69. And 34. And 34. And 34. Oh, 73. Oh, 73. Apparently, he finally was made aware that there was this protest outside. He had made his way all the way through the main forest. But perhaps because he was feeling harassed, he skipped his herb. And I don't know. I don't know if I could take that if I were in his position. I don't know if I could live through that. I-16. I think I'll repeat though. My one encounter, one degree of whatever from a Supreme Court justice. I've mentioned this before, I think, but I was visiting with Ruth Bader Ginsburg's husband, who was also a prominent lawyer. He's a tax lawyer, and I was working my piece of Love and Taxes. And I told this already, but it was just really charming. He received a call. He was talking to me. He said, the phone was ringing. He said, I got to get that. He goes, oh, hi, sweetie. And then he looks at me like, you're sorry. You know, he's talking to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, he doesn't call her Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He called her sweetie. And she was freaking out, apparently, because she was trying to deal with a broken thing in her car that needed to get fixed. And he was saying, sweetie, you can just leave that to the Supreme Court police. I didn't know there was such a thing. You can leave that to them. Have them take care of it. No, sweetie, you don't have to drive it yourself to the garage. No, you don't need to worry, honey. You don't. No, really, sweetheart. No, it's. I'll talk to you later. Just don't worry about it. You know. So that was my experience being in the room. Oh, 68. Oh, 68. And sure, we hear about what a great jurist she was, and all of her great qualities, the notorious RBG. Some of us have even heard that she, in fact, was a ballet dancer when she was younger, and quite a babylicious photo that her husband had in his office of her from that time. And we may know these things, but I think we frequently don't know the stress that goes into power ownership when you also have to try to protect the country from fascists. Oh, 61. Oh, 61. Oh, 61. And 36. And 36. And 33. And 33. 43. And 43. And 43. Her husband's also a really good lawyer. I may have mentioned that. Very, very good lawyer. And there was a point apparently when they were thinking which one of them was going to go for being a Supreme Court justice. And they decided that as a couple that it would be her, because Martin Ginsburg, her husband, also could have potentially. G49. 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 But one thing I can say is that it just even based on my short experience, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's marriage was a loving one. I can say that with certainty based on just my little encounter there. I'm really happy about that. Oh, 67. Oh, 67. Oh, 67. G56. G56. B6. B6. Not a lot of tax lawyers on SCOTUS. That's true, Craig. It's true. And since you made that perspicacious comment, I forgive you for not displaying your cat at this moment. B6. Not a lot of tax lawyers. Tax law is really cool. It's like really cool. It's really interesting. I don't want to talk out of school, but it might be skewed toward the rich currently. Tax code. Just I-29. Like when Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh was calculating the tip, for his meal at Morton's Steakhouse. I imagine he might have deducted, for the harassment, he might have deducted from it. And not being a tax attorney himself, he probably looked at the little receipt thing to see what 15, 20, and 25% would actually add up to. And I'm glad he cares. Just would not want that man to have anyone be rude to him in any way. N39. He likes beer. I remember that from the hearing. I don't know if you remember, but that stays with me. Probable rapist and likes beer. So 2 out of the 3 requirements that the Trump administration had for choosing a Supreme Court justice. I-20. N44. G58. Just making a mental note to maybe read some lighthearted comedy next book take out. I think it's getting on me. Yeah. B3. B4. It's not always, or even often, that B4 follows B3 in the game of Marsh Bingo.
Oh, excuse me.
No, that was perfectly timed. B2. B2. That's a long.
And we have a bingo in the chat.
Bingo! Oh, for my friend Andrea. I'm so glad that you're here and that you won. And the fact that none of us can see you is something. Oh, now we can. Okay, good. Excellent. Andrea, hi. Whoa, you just moved to my screen. How's it going?
Everything is good. I'm sorry about John Sirocco, or whatever his name was.
About what?
John Sirocco, the man that played Paulie Peanuts.
Sirocco, right. Oh, yeah. And also the character, I get a sense not a lot of people here, not a lot of my community here was really into The Sopranos. But if you were, not only was he in the Mafia, but some of you are. Okay. Not only was he into the Mafia, but also his character, Paulie Walnuts, famously lived with his mother. And so did the actor. Also, he did his own wings. He made his own gray wings in his hair. He was a great man. And I'm sorry that he's gone.
And in the spirit always of TMI, James Caan, I remember, was my first sexual awakening.
You too? That's amazing, because I didn't even know you were anywhere near the commune at that time. Well, I'm just speaking for myself. What do you mean?
Well, I saw
the kind of thing you need to explain.
I saw The Godfather when it came out. I was 12. And the opening scene, is the big wedding scene. And
yes, and there is his character has an appendage that is spoken of very highly.
That I wouldn't have known about, but he was with a bridesmaid upstairs against.
He certainly was.
Against a door, and I think I didn't even know. I don't think I new people had sex standing up.
Yeah.
I think that was, that was.
You know where that started was at the equator, because people actually at the equator, because of gravity, they can't actually lie flat when they have sex. But it also happens at mafia weddings, apparently. Yeah.
So I went to the 25th anniversary screening at the Castro. Do you remember when they had that? About 25
of The Godfather?
Yeah. And they were all there. They were all there. Al Pacino was there, and the guy that did the sound, and the producer, because I mean, everybody was from San Francisco on the on the crew side. And I sat in front of Willie Brown, who wouldn't shut up. I had to keep turning around and shushing him.
That doesn't ring true to me, because everyone knows that Willie Brown is known for not speaking very much. So I'm not, that's not ringing true to me, Andrea, but I believe everything else you said. I will tell you this, Willie Brown, when we were raising money to make our film Haiku Tunnel, me and my brother, we were having these pizza parties to raise money. And we had a fundraiser at an art gallery. And the big thing was that Willie Brown was he was the mayor then, he was going to come by. And he did not come by. Willie Brown did not come by. And looking back on it, I'm not sure that he really ever intended to come by. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
He might have. I mean, to his credit,
he might have come by, like in disguise, like.
No, I'm just saying he was everywhere all the time. I mean,
That's true.
My feeling was you could walk down the street and run into Willie at everything. Because I remember once asking him to raise the money for jurors. They used to give you like $2 for parking, which was absurd. Anyway, I found, as much as he's corrupted and ruined all of San Francisco, I found he was very accessible and around a lot.
Okay, cool. I stand corrected.
No, I never correct you. I'm just saying.
If I happen to be passing a Morton's and he's eating a steak in there, I'm going to think nothing but good thoughts about him. And I will say, by the way, this reminds me of my one experience. I've always wanted to be on a jury. My wife, who's was a school teacher, was invited to be on. She was on 3 juries. They can't get enough of school teachers. You know who they can get enough of? Monologists. So I said, what do you do? It was voir dire, they call it. What do you do? Said the prosecuting attorney. And I said, I'm a monologuist. He said, dismissed.
Why?
Would he have done that to Spalding Gray? I mean, anti-Semitism is an ugly word. I don't even want to go there. What I want to do is say, you, Andrea, my friend, have won, apparently, but I would like to prove this.
Okay. So first I'll show you. I sat there waiting for B2 for like 25 turns. I had the other numbers. So B2, I-26, the free space, G47, and O71. Yeah. And I have to say, last game, I had 3 numbers total.
No, that's the way it can be. One day, you can like be going around in your life totally unharassed whenever you want a steak, and you're a fascist Supreme Court justice, and then the next moment your life changes and no longer is that something that's accessible to you. Similarly, you can have very different experiences in 2 different games.
I mean, so much so that I used the same sheet because it was like unmarked from the first game.
Okay, I think this is a possible setup for that. Reminds me of my wedding night. I haven't worked it through in my head, but I think it's a possible setup for that. That's A. B is congratulations, Andrea. You have indeed bingulated, and it's going to tell you your prize, and it's going to blow your mind.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You are the lucky winner of a gold membership for winning bingo game number 2. So that's a general admission annual pass for 2 and all of the perks that I listed earlier for the Ruby membership. Congratulations again. And I messaged you in the chat. You can contact me to redeem your prize.
I'd like to take Craig.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm just trying to start up something here. I would like to, I feel like Craig hasn't won for, a few weeks. So
I think Craig realizes that the way you win is by living a good moral life during the week.
Oh, well then
I
forget
think Craig
it.
understands that.
Yeah, sorry, Craig. I tried.
I think that's something that's pretty known. Great. Well, congratulations. Before I sign off, I just want to, Ellie, my big sister, my honored big sister, your flowers have grown since last week. They're bigger.
Yeah, yes. I got this this morning from Costco.
You're back at Costco.
Yeah. Is that pretty?
Okay. No, it's Costco is the closest thing to what I think life will be like after a socialist revolution that we can have right now. And what are those flowers?
Oh, I asked the lady. She doesn't know. She just said it's some kind of a novelty green. It's a mixture of various kinds. I'll have to look it up later.
Okay, we're gonna come back to this next week because I kind of am used to you identifying them for me. And novelty green, you know, although I will say you're the first person I've ever known of who actually found someone who works at Costco when you were at Costco. So that is pretty darn cool. Oh, cool. Anyhow, great to see you. Great to see your flowers. They might be novelty green, but they're more than novelties to me. They're love greens. They're the mixed greens of love. That's all I have for that. Okay, everybody, it's time now. It's time. I went over the hour as usual because, as usual, people kept interrupting me. And so it took me longer to do the games. But it's been really great to see you guys. And thank you very much for attending. I'm going to find out. I may be doing one of my backyard shows in a couple of weekends on a Friday. If so, I will let everyone know in advance that I won't. But if you can fly in from Socrates and just instead come see me perform. It's time now to close our game of bingo, our 2 games of bingo, by singing all together. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Caitlin. And a quick thank you to the God who protects Supreme Court justices from harassment. Everyone, let us all sing Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo. One more time for that poor cow who got partially eaten by such an asshole as Brett Kavanaugh. Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo, Marsh Bingo. Take care, everybody.
Have a nice weekend, everyone.